Alright, so this deck right here is an Ancient Gear deck that focuses on Ancient Gear Hydra. One of the new Ancient Gear cards that came out with all of the new really good support cards. Ancient Gear Hydra has two effects depending on what you tribute, and none of them I really actually use. I only really use him because he's a level 7 Ancient Gear monster, and Ancient Gear cards are really good about special summoning their cards over and over again for some nice XYZ summons. And since the level 7 XYZs are the best, I thought that would be a really fun thing to do, just go into a whole bunch of level 7 XYZ monsters. The main problems with this deck, though, are the fact that there aren't any other Ancient Gear level 7 monsters, or other level 7 monsters that fit very well with Ancient Gears. Machina Fortress does. He works very well with Ancient Gears, but he works better with the level 8 or higher Ancient Gear monsters. Not very good with Hydra, even though he's also level 7 and they can go into some nice XYZ summons. That's why I'm running triple Ancient Gear Golem and a Reactor Dragon. Honestly, I could have just ran triple Reactor Dragon, but I really didn't want to rely on Reactor Dragon because otherwise I would have been just going into him instead of Hydra, because he's a lot better card to actually use for Gear Town or Ancient Gear Fortress when you destroy him. Since he has another baseline effect besides your opponent can't activate spell or trap cards when you attack. He also destroys spell and trap cards after he attacks without having to tribute anything, while Hydra only has the effects that your opponent can activate anything when he attacks. No extra effects like Reactor Dragon does. And, so I basically just have a trap monster who's level 7 and Machina Fortress and all of my gear cards in order to special summon out Ancient Gear Hydra. To be perfectly honest, I could have completely built the deck around abusing Gear Town, but I decided to make it more gear focused. That way I could actually run Machina Fortress because he needs machine type monsters. And if I was going to make a straight up just Gear Town abuse deck, I would need to run a whole bunch of other cards that weren't machines. So that's the reasoning for this. And I was able to go into a lot of level 7 XYZ monsters. I went into Lucky Straight a whole bunch of times. I think you only see one of them because he requires 3 level 7 monsters, which is a game state you don't see very often. But I was able to achieve a couple of times. And I basically just use his effect 3 times in a row. His effect is you can roll 2 dice, and he gains attack equal to the dice rolls times 700. So you can get up to some really high attack rolls. But if you're able to roll a 7 with those 2 dice, like a 3 and a 4, or a 5 and a 2, 6 and a 1, doesn't matter how you roll a 7, just as long as you roll a 7, you get to activate one of his 3 effects. And you don't get to activate him under any other condition. All 3 effects are pretty good. Send all of the cards in the field to the graveyard, special summon a monster from your hand or either graveyard, or draw 3 cards and discard 2, which is basically like Graceful Charity. And I was able to pull it off once, and then I used his effect again. My attack got too low and then I died and I lost like 2 turns later. So I don't actually show that one because I forgot to save the replay to it. But I used him a whole bunch of other times and I lost because I just kept rolling his ability over and over just for fun. So, if you get the 7 roll, it's pretty fun though, but he's too hard to bring out and I really just threw a couple of games just doing it for fun.